Hey guys, this is Skylar. I am completely blind. I'm autistic and have a chronic heart condition. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with autism. So if you're autistic or you have an autistic child, um, you might want to listen to this because I'm going to tell you my experience with autism, especially autism in school. So no two autistics are alike, so just know that I can only tell you my experience because I've only lived my life. So yeah. Well, my type of autism is called Asperger's syndrome, but I wasn't really diagnosed until I was 11 years of age. So, but we'll get into that later. So, the first thing that I kind of noticed when I was little that other people my age were not doing is getting hooked on words. Nowadays, I know that that's called special interest in the Asperger's community. I found that term on a web forum. Anyways, so yeah. I would get hooked on, I still do, by the way, obsessed with certain words or topics. And back then, I really liked the word frog, like the animal. I also used to like bumblebees, and I also liked the word wine, both homonyms, both the thing that a dog does when it wants food and the thing made of fermented grapes that adults sometimes drink. So, yeah. All of those got me in some type of trouble. I remember when I was, I used to say those words all the time and talk about them all the time and things like that. I remember when I was 7, I was obsessed with Dina Carter. I grew up listening to Dina Carter, 90s kid. Holla. Anyways, I grew up listening to Dina Carter, who was a country singer, and one of my favorite songs of hers back then was called Strawberry Wine, because wine used to be one of my favorite words. And I remember one time I was talking to Mom about that song, and she told me that it was unacceptable to talk about strawberries and wine. And keep in mind I was only 7, so... And I was only obsessed with strawberries because they reminded me of that song, Strawberry Wine by Dina Carter. It is a real song, look it up. So basically the lesson from that story is, don't tell an autistic person not to talk about their favorite topics ever. If it's like socially unacceptable, you might want to say, don't talk about that in public or around a certain type of people. So they can still talk about it, just maybe not in public, maybe not in front of strangers. Maybe it can be an only at home conversation. Because if you say don't talk about it at all, that's, that kind of is dumb on the caregiver's part, because if the person is crafty like myself, they're going to find other ways to express it, like writing it down, talking about it to a friend, things like that. So most of my battles were due to words, but my teacher, Miss Toy, she told me that my social skills were really poor, which is not something that you need to tell anybody, let alone an autistic. Because, like one of the ways that I show love is by going, like making the sound at somebody. I still do that to this day. And that just means that I love you. Also, same thing. And so my social skill, my regular teacher told me that my social skills were very poor. So that's not something you need to tell. Also, if another thing that doesn't really work with me is when people tell me to forget about it. Like when I'm getting mad about, let's say you said something to me and I got mad at you, if somebody told me to forget about it, or I do get that you have to forgive. I'm a Christian, so I might take like a day or two to forgive you, but I'm still gonna ultimately forgive you. Okay? But forget is not something that I, do. So when you tell me to forget about it, I can't just forget. So that's I don't know if that's just an autism thing or if that's just a normal person thing, but don't tell me to forget. Also the perseverating thing. That was a big thing at my school. Like when I turned 16, they told me, if I was obsessed with a certain, let's say, I was obsessed with monkeys when I was 16. And so one day I just started talking about monkeys and gorillas a lot and things like that. And so my teacher would go, you're perseverating. Perseverating kind of means like fixate on one topic and you talk about that, nothing else the whole day, kind of thing. But the thing that, that doesn't give you enough room to be free. You know what I'm saying? So I get that normal people don't talk about that all day, but just, give me some room. Also, when I was 11, I was hooked on words that started with Z. And my teacher just banned me from saying any Z word ever in my life. I was not, if it started with a Z or if it had a Z in it, I was not allowed to say it. So, again, you don't do that. One year for my school pictures, I was hooked on the Spanish word for the color black like the night, or black like tar. And my teacher told me that I wasn't allowed to say black in Spanish for a picture. Needless to say, I was not smiling for a picture. I just sat there with my lips closed, not smiling. So definitely don't tell, an autistic, if they're interested in a certain topic, don't say that they can't talk about that topic ever. Or, if you notice they're talking about it a lot, don't just maybe tell them that, to kind of curve down that they can still talk about it, just not maybe every other word or something. Just give them space where they can talk about it, but just not every other word. So, also, one of the things that doesn't really work for me is when a lot of people, they tell me to relax or to deep breathe or things like that, and that just doesn't work for me. So, and yes, I've tried it, and it just doesn't work. So those are just some things that in my life never tell an autistic. If an autistic person has a special interest, let them express that special interest. You may not feel the same about it. You may not even care about it. But just let them express it, You don't have to care. You don't have to be like super excited like they are, but just let them express whatever it is. Because if you try to shackle them, it's only going to make them like rebel. Like I was super rebellious at school because, when I was 16, I had negotiables and non-negotiables. The negotiables were words that I was allowed to say at a certain time. Non-negotiables was words that I couldn't say ever, which kind of sucked. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and God bless.